From the Tennessee Valley Weather Channel, this is Forecasting Space.
Hey folks, hope you've been doing well. Welcome to Forecasting Space, the weekly show with me, your host Chase Wilson, where we talk about all things space and astronomy, from interesting discoveries, interesting launches, new developments in the space sector. First things first, I want to talk to you about the potential discovery of a biosignature, yes, a biosignature on Mars. Let's break that down. You heard me right. NASA recently announced the potential discovery of signatures of life, not life, but signatures that might be produced by life on Mars. The first data was collected, NASA said recently in their press announcement of the discovery, by Perseverance's Pixel and Sherlock. Pixel standing for Planetary Instrument for X-ray Lithochemistry, and Sherlock standing for Scanning Habitable Environments with Raman and Luminescence for Organics and Chemicals. Say that 5 times fast. NASA is certainly clever with their acronyms. While they were investigating Java Falls, an arrowhead-shaped rock measuring 3 feet by 2 feet. And inside this rock, they found what appeared to be some colorful spots. They had certain green tinges to them around, of course, the otherwise gray and reddish rock outside. And these spots on the rock could have been left behind, possibly, we have to do trial and error in the scientific process, but possibly by microbial life. If it was using the raw ingredients, that is, inside the rock, the organic carbon, the sulfur, and phosphorus as an energy source. This is a very common biosignature with life on Earth, but of course we need to again do the trial and error, the process of elimination. We have to rule out other things first, and we've been going down the list, the scientists at NASA have, that is, they haven't been able to find an otherwise geological or non-biological explanation. So while this is not a strict confirmation of life, it sure is pointing us in the direction that it might have been possible. It is of course known that a very, very long time ago, Mars had water on it. That is in fact where Perseverance is, in a dried up lake bed inside the Jezero crater. In fact, the area of this discovery was in a delta, in a former river delta, much like you would see, say, in New Orleans or at the mouth of the Mississippi River, right? In high-resolution images, NASA said, the instruments found a distinct pattern of minerals arranged in reaction fronts, which is otherwise described as points of contact where chemical and physical reactions occur. That's why you see these little spots and rings in the images you see just moments ago. The team called these leopard spots, and these spots, well, they're suspicious because they carry the signature of these 2 iron-rich minerals we mentioned earlier, sorts of iron phosphates, in this case, vivianite and gregite, which is iron sulfide. Vivianite is frequently found in Earth's sediments, peat bogs, and around decaying organic matter. That's one of the key reasons that they're so suspicious that this might have been formed by biological processes. Similarly, certain forms of microbial life on Earth can produce gregite as well, although that's a little bit more rare, but we have seen it. Now, the combination of these materials, which appear to have been formed by an electron transfer reaction between the sediment and organic matter, that's the fingerprint for microbial life, because these reactions produce the energy for growth in microbiomes. The minerals can also be generated abiotically, which is to say without life, such as sustaining high temperatures, acidic conditions, and binding organic compounds. However, the rocks in this river delta do not show any evidence that they experience high temperatures or acidic conditions, and it's not known if these organic compounds present could have been capable of catalyzing in low temperatures like we've seen. So like I said just a few moments ago, we're not seeing any reason that non-biological factors could have caused this. So this is a very, very interesting, and it's also very surprising because it involves some of the youngest sedimentary rocks the mission has investigated. In fact, earlier hypotheses assumed signs of ancient life would be confined to very old rock formations due to the fact that it's been so long since Mars had life. So we'll of course have to continue to analyze this. The NASA folks in Huntsville are actually involved in this as well and part of the research. So I'll keep you updated on this, but this was certainly the biggest news of the week and perhaps some of the biggest astrobiology news in history. In other news, spacenews.com is reporting that China has conducted a rocket stage hot fire on Friday in the latest step in the country's plans to beat America to the moon. The moon race is heating up once again. This is going to be a shortened version of the Long March 10 that was actually performing the test just the other day. This was fixed with 7 YF-100K variable thrust kerosene oxygen engines. It was ignited at 3 a.m. Eastern Time, about 3 p.m. local time there in Beijing. It actually initiated a 320-second test at the pad in Wenchang spacecraft launch site on Hainan Island. This was a tethered hot fire focused on evaluating the performance and capabilities of the 7 clustered engines for the rocket first stage, Space News reported on Saturday. So we are continuing to see this space race continue. Of course, we in America have the SLS, the Space Launch Vehicle, which has been quite a process, to say the least. I live in Huntsville, and I have seen that firsthand. And we also have Starship, which will augment the landing capabilities by way of HLS, the Human Landing System, a contract which SpaceX won for the landing portion of it. Of course, you think back to, say, the Apollo missions. Well, we didn't quite do it this way. We actually sent it all up at once. We sent the lander, the command pod, in one fell swoop. Of course, the American plans are a little bit different. The Chinese astronauts, Chinese crew, are going to go up all at once, quite like we did in the Apollo era, while we are going to send up fueling ships and a gateway in HLS orbit. So this is going to be very interesting to see which one of these proves to be more viable. China is currently aiming for at least 2030, if not earlier. America wants to be there by 2027, but of course these plans have varied depending on funding, right? Depending on the political will. So it depends, but we'll see who beats it. The race is really heating up. I'm very excited for this. I certainly don't think of China as an enemy. I think it's great to kind of have a little bit of friendly competition to inspire new technologies, things like that. But I'm optimistic America will beat them. Well, that concludes this episode of Forecasting Space. Stay tuned over the next couple of weeks. We're keeping a very close eye on the Starship program. Hopefully, I'll have more news to tell you about in the coming days.